animation that's going here when it starts loading the page. Okay, you can't see it. Okay, yes, now you can see. We're going to be designing that. You see that it goes to right, then left, and it has some skew on its composition. It's easy to do that. You simply have to pay attention and go with me. That's an animation, and we may want to reuse that, so let's put it in our base, and this is a base configuration of our page. Animation. People make confusions about where to place. Okay, sometimes there's no specific and most accurate answer for all of the questions about where to place something. It's going to depend upon you, upon your organization, upon the organization where you're working on. But let's keep things really easy and more sensible to be understood. Animation. Here in animation, we have to draw our animation. And let me go to my main and do that. You know what? Just to import base, so I'm going to say import base animation. Okay, nice. I have here my typography, heading primary, and I have my animation. How it's going to work? Animations can be made using the transition and transform properties or the keyframes, which are more advanced. Here we're going to be using keyframes, so let's start with add keyframes. And here we have to put the name. The name that I chose is move to right with skew, because at the beginning it moves to the right and it backs to the left with a skew, and that is about some 7 degrees and so on. So I'm going to say move to right with skew. Then I have to start doing it. Our animation has different moments. At the beginning, I'm talking about at 0%. At 0%, I have to specify what are the properties that I want to apply. I want it to be on its normal position. So I'm not going to translate horizontally. So I'm going to say transform, transform, translate on the X direction to 0. Nice. Then I want it to be with some translation on the X direction and some skew at 20%. Let me show you how this is going to work. 20%, I want it to have transform, translate on the X direction. Let me say some 15 pixels. Okay, it's going to be 15 pixels from the initial position, and it's going to have a skew of some -7 degrees. Shows a good amount of angles and positive or negative according to your need. Here you are free to do that. Let me simply save this and use it right here. I have to use the animation. Here you have description of each value that you're going to be placing. The name, the duration, time function, delay, direction, fill mode. So let's start with the animation name. As you know, is going to be move to right. So we say move to right with skew. Next, the duration. This animation doesn't have to take so long, otherwise it's going to be boring, but just to start and make you able to really see what's going on, I'm going to put some I can say 5 seconds. Okay, it's enough. Next, the time function. Here you can have ease in out, ease out. You can go to the internet and see what's the difference between of these functions and try out, or you can even build your custom one. I'm going to leave it easy now, and I don't want it to have a delay. I'm going to simply put the animation here to be backwards. So I want the beginning. You can see even the hint here what backwards is going to do. The beginning property value as defined in the first keyframe at rule, which is at 0%, is going to be applied before the animation is displayed. Let me simply save it. And yes, some refresh. You can see what's happening. Yes, at the 0% is when you load your page and it shows it's transforming and translate X is at 0 initial position, but it knows that at the 20% of the occurrence of its animation, it needs to translate it to 1.5 rem and have a skew of -7 degrees. That's why it does that. And here you have it back to the normal position. Nice. We have to continue. Put some transform at the 40%. At the 40%, I wanted to translate X, transform first, translate X. I want to use these shortcuts to -1 rem. That means minus 10 pixels. So it's going to be 15, pass from 0, go to -10 pixels. So it's going to start from 0, which is this position of cursor, 15 pixels. At 40, come back and make -10. That's what I mean right here. 60%, where are you going to be? Transform, translate X to rem, just to 20 pixels. At the 80%, I want you to have a translate on the X direction of -2 rem, but I want you to skew again to -7 degrees. So you can simply make something crazy right here and see how it looks. -7 degrees. Finally, I want you to remove all your skew and translate. That means at 100%, just go to the normal position, translate to 0, and I want you to don't skew. Nice. I have saved it, and I'm going to simply run it again. Okay, can you see what's going on? Here you have, and I'm going to reduce the amount of time so that it makes much sense for us. See it happening fast. Okay, let me refresh. This is the animation done. Next, let's talk about this button right here. To insert this button, we're going to be working with it as a component because we can reuse that, and it's an element that has a meaning itself. So let's simply remove this typography, the variables, the header logo. Here in components, let's create a new component. This is going to be our button, the CSS. Go to my main. I know that I have components, so I'm going to put it before the header. Add import components, and this is the button. Nice. Let me close this header, put this index right here and the button on this side. We have many different states for buttons, as we know from HTML section, the link, visited, hover, active function, and we're going to be exploring that right here. Let's try to understand what this animation is doing. As we hover, you can see that it's translating on the Y direction, and it seems like this button had grown, then shrink it. Let's simply try to think how it's going to be possible to implement this. There are many possibilities, but here we have one button, and before it we also have another button with the same characteristics. So when we hover it, one of the buttons grow, and as we remove, we have another style being applied. Let's code and you're gonna understand how it is done. Let's select our button. Okay, right here, hourglass btn, link state, and on the visited state, because we don't want to change the styles. Text transform obviously is to uppercase in our button. Text decoration, let's put it to none, because we don't want to have the text decoration right here. So let me save the main one and see what we have. Okay, it's not working. Why? Oh, now it's working. Okay, I was feeling something different right here. Okay, now let's continue. After the text decoration, what we can do is simply try to increase the font size to 1.7 rem and see how it looks. I have to save right here. This is a bit of bug that you find when you work with this. Okay, 1.7, it's cool. The font weight, we're going to reduce it to 400. Let's put some background color to be Alice blue. Then we change it. Let's put some padding of 15 pixels, but we're working with our RAM right here. And on the left and right, just to 40 pixels. You have good buttons when you have a huge amount of paddings on the horizontal axis and a small amount on the vertical. This is from design researches. Font size, let me put it to 17 pixels. I know the values of some of these properties because I had tried many times. And this is a bar term, so I'm going to say border none. Okay, let me save it and see how it looks like. Okay, it's right here. I could give some border radius for that. Radius of 1 rem. Save it and see how it looks. Much better, but it's not where it should be. Now we have to fix that. But if you see here, we have some more space, so we can add a letter spacing to that between each of them of 0.2 rem. I guess now you know what 0.2 rem means. 2 pixels. And let's see. Okay, much better right now. To make it go right here, just after the luxury cars for every lover, we can pick it from here and put it inside of the same header text box and save our time. Let's see how it looks right now. Nice. And we can have some margin right here. Okay, but let's leave that for the next time. What we can do right now is focus on making the magic happen. I told you that we're going to have 2 buttons, and that's true. We have 2 buttons right here. So basically the same style that we have on our element is the same that we're going to be using with the pseudo class. So we'll have to put after, and every time you use this pseudo elements, you have to put it content to nothing, and you must put a display to be inline block. Here also you must display as inline block. Right, the height is going to be exactly 100% of its parent element, and the parent element of the after element is equal to the element itself where you are using as a reference to give the after. In our case is this anchor tag and is the button class. Okay, so it needs to be 100% for both dimensions so that it stays exactly equal to the next element. The border radius needs to be exactly the same of 1 rem. The position is going to be absolute. Yes, it must have an absolute position because we want to set it to be from the top 0 and left to 0 in order to be really sticked relatively to the anchor tag. So let's say top to 0 and left to 0. Save and see how it behaves. Okay, here we have, it seems like nothing happened, but we have something. And what we can do in order to see that we have really something there which is equal, we can simply change each z index and put it to be something like 900, something really high. So the button should stick right here in front of this one. We can see, so something is not going how it should. Okay, let's try to figure out what's going on. What can possibly be going on right here? Let's try to find out. Let's put this as a relative position. Yes. And refresh. We can see nothing here, but let's see with the inspector. If you come here, you have the after. Let me remove, oh, it exists. Let me inspect again. The after element, I had seen here something. Okay, Let me click. This is for different stages. You can see the after one right here. Here we have. Let's try to remove these properties, and it seems like it's not working. I don't know why, but let's try to figure out. Oh, indeed, it's working. You can see if you remove the absolute positioning, it shows up right here just after this explore button, and if you add it goes there. Okay, let's continue. What we want to do is to make sure that this button always sticks before our main button right here. And as we hover on our main button, what really happens is that we want to translate and translate the main button and give some box shadow, and also make the scale of the back button, which is hide. How can we make that? We simply have to come here and use the pseudo glass hover when we hover on the button in general way. So let's say transform. We want it to have a translate y of -4 pixels because we want it to translate to up, and let's add some box shadow. Okay, 0, 1 rem, 2 rem, and we have some transparency on the color observatory. RGBA, the color is observatory, the transparency of 80%. You don't have this color, so let's simply copy it, go to the variables, add it here, and pass the value. Find it's 0.28 C68. These values I must memorize or simply give it to you, but I'm going to give to you as a text on these lectures, and you're going to pass all the variables that we are going to be using, right? This is the color. So this is a small part, but we want to make sure that the element that is after scales up and reduces its opacity to 0. It's like a zoom in and reduce the opacity, become invisible, right? So after is going to have the transform. This is scale on the X 1.3, and we have also to scale on the Y direction so that it becomes greater in the vertical direction. And we are going to set its opacity to 0. Let's simply make sure that this is going to happen fast. So let's say transition to all the properties in just 0.2 seconds. It's enough in my point of view. And let's add the same time to the after element and save. Let's see how it behaves. Okay, what we still have here is the box shadow and the Y translation for this one, and we can see the translation and the scaling of the back button. We have to fix that. Okay, it actually was found that my browser was having a bug, and now it's how it should. Here we have that cool animation, and when we click, something should happen, and we should see this button coming like below and going inside of the screen, something that gives a sensation of yes, you have clicked it. You can see what's happening right here. So let's do the same right here, and the pseudo classes that we have to use, we know active and focus. So you have to take that knowledge. So I'm going to place it before right here when it's active, and when you place it on the focus, pretty much the same. Transforming, obviously we have to change the translate in the Y direction. We can place it like -1 pixel. We can simply leave 1 pixel because this unit is so small, and let's simply change the box shadow because this is the shadow that gives a different sensation. -5 frame, which is 5 pixels, 10 pixels, and a bit of different color here. It's the same as this one. Okay, with some small change in transparency. Let's see how it looks. Nice, nice. But in our case, we are working with a green button. That's a general approach, and we have to add a class here that's going to differ when the button has a different color. So let's say green, and make some small changes. What we have to do is put the formatting when we are talking about the green button. We are going to change it just two things: the color of the text, which is going to be color white, and we are going to change the background. Obviously, background color needs to be green. We have to do the same for the after pseudo element. So after, we're going to be saying box, where are you? The color to be the same as color green, because we must make sure that what is what's behind the main button also has the same color, because if it doesn't have, we will notice as it scales, right? I hope you got the idea. And here we can simply remove the default background colors. Here also we can remove the background color. Where are you? Here you are. And we can now test. One thing I have to tell you, it's going to be giving me an error because I haven't defined a variable right here. So let me simply go and say I want the color green to have a color with the value. Let me simply find it in my annotations. I have a color green. Okay, is the ATE 6A2. Let's see how they look like right now. No, this green is not the one that I want. So let me change it to dark green. I'm testing the colors here with you. I like to make it live. So it's 26835F. Let me see if this is going to be the one that I want. 835F. Okay. Nice. So multiple cursors using the Alt, dark, save. Okay. Now import the abstract variables. Color dark green, color dark green. Let's see what's the error. Let me save. Formatted file to import not found, unreadable abstracts variable. Why it's unreadable? On line 1 says import abstracts. Let me go there to my says variables. Why it can't read? Let me go up and see what we have here. We file to import not found, unreadable abstracts variables. But why? This is something really blowing my mind. Now it's working. It's totally acceptable that these things happen. Even if you don't make any change, you simply have to try to resave it and it's gonna work. Okay, but let me inspect and see if this color is the one that I really have there, because this seems like a bit different, or I'm having problems with my rendering. Okay, the color is this one, so I'm going to copy and don't waste much time right here. Let me paste. Okay, I'm going to leave it as green. Green, green. Done. We have closed this part. It's the same. Nice. The background video is going to be seen on the next lecture.